Hello everyone, this is Captain Logan. The following is the spoiler addendum that Aaron Dicer and I recorded for his Sif Pop show last week. So he has his Sif Pop program on Friday morning. Quick plug, it's a live show, but you can also listen to it afterwards. And then there's an extra addendum where you can listen to spoilers if you've already seen the film that he and Danae and his pop culture co-host, guest speaker, is talking about, and I was the guest speaker last week. So we talked about Suicide Squad, and I thought I'd go ahead and post it here so that you can hear some of my spoiler thoughts on that movie since I wasn't able to make it for our spoiler cast. So this may be overkill for Suicide Squad here on the channel, but just in case you're curious to know more of my thoughts and to hear Aaron Dicer talk about it as well, here is some more spoiler talk for Suicide Squad, and just know that this is after the first time I saw it, so I have seen it twice now and would have had even more thoughts and some slightly different tweaked thoughts, although more or less I feel the same way about this particular movie. So I hope you enjoy, and be sure to check out Sif Pop through the link in the description.
Before you go, Danae, please do the spoiler cast theme song.
Is this the real life? It's just a fantasy. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Danae. Bye.
Bye!
Welcome to the spoiler cast episode for Suicide Squad. This is the one where we're not going to be afraid to say specific things about the movie, so if you don't want to know them, probably wait to listen to this particular episode. But there are so many things in this movie that I feel like a more in-depth, specific conversation can kind of help flesh out, as with the case with a lot of these superhero movies. So I'm excited to kind of get into it. Let's just kind of start. Cap, why don't you start by taking us kind of through the plot of this movie, like how it's, set up, where it's going, that kind of stuff.
So, as I said when we were talking about this earlier, it opens with what's not really a break in status quo, which is Amanda Waller's putting together a team. And it's pretty much what it is in the comics, which is she's putting together this team called Task Force X, and it's let's get metahumans and other specialized bad guys that are in prison and put them all together to fight supernatural forces and other big threats that we can't really use an army or the police to fight. And so we're taken through at the beginning all of the different characters that are going to be part of this team and given kind of little snippets of their backstory and just an introduction, just a sense of who they are, intercut within this framework of Amanda Waller just having dinner. And I gotta say, man, I don't think I've ever watched a person eat an entire steak in a movie. And I'm pretty sure I watched Amanda Waller eat an entire steak because she had time.
She ate that thing. She was chewing that thing.
Ate that steak.
Here's a question. The metahuman thing, that originates in the comics, calling them metahumans?
Yeah, and we had that in BVS also.
Right. And
yes,
in the TV series stuff, we have metahumans.
Flash and Arrow, yeah. And they make a big deal out of that in DC. And they make, for some reason, we hear that kind of thing a lot more in the media versions than we do in the comics, or at least most of the comics. And I don't know why they feel the need to lump everybody that has superpowers or is in any other way not human together like that. Because when you think metahuman, you think, oh, it's the equivalent of mutant. Well, no, not really. Because in Marvel, we don't take, like, Spider-Man's not a mutant. They don't have a name for they don't have a catch-all.
Oh, and, that's a good point. That's a very fair point.
So I don't know why we do that so hard with extra media stuff with DC, but we do.
So we spend the first 35 minutes of this movie putting together
35.
This
I can't
team.
get my mind around that.
Now, you know what? I was thinking about that. The actual movie part may be less than that because I think I may have thought posted start time, and of course there's trailers and that kind of stuff. So it may be more like 25 to 30 minutes.
That was what I thought, but I wasn't looking at a watch.
So I just know.
So I don't know.
I pulled. I think our showtime was a 6 o'clock show, and when I looked at my clock after we finally got through the introduction of all these characters, it was 6:38. So
see, doesn't it really feel like that's not what was intended in the first place? Where like they were just really worried that they had too many characters and they were gonna struggle real hard to get, because like we have double introductions for our two main characters.
Yeah, it does feel tagged on a little bit, and for that reason, and I got to tell you, and I said this during the podcast proper as well. I don't know that it's fully a mistake. Like I really think there is some value in. I think what you're right about is that the structure is a mistake.
Yeah,
that if they could figure out a way to put a lot of that stuff, intersperse it a little bit more. And I don't know if they felt like that would make the movie feel too flashbacky, like if we're having flashbacks all the time. But
it may have, but when I said that, I'm also thinking some of the flashbacks simply aren't necessary. Cut some of them. Like aren't we really arbitrary about who we feel the need to give a lot of background for? Like why do we have? Okay, so like at the teaser, why do we introduce in the prison Harley Quinn and Deadshot? Reverse order in the movie, but we don't do that with El Diablo, who also gets a lot of screen time and has a character arc.
Yeah, his are told entirely in flashback. Yeah, that's true.
Is it? Well, but also it's just they introduce us to them because I said two main characters. They introduce us to them as if they are the two people we are most supposed to pay attention to, and then the movie itself doesn't exactly feel that way because of how much screen time El Diablo gets.
It's weird. There's so many things, so many choices in this movie that are strange like that. So
really counterintuitive. Yeah.
So we get the intros for the first, quarter of this film, and then we go into,
and then we get into the mission. So now here's what she's trying to do. So she goes in and she says, "Here, I've put, I can put this team together to do these things." She brings the witch with her, who is controlled because she has her heart, and so that controls the witch and. So she says Enchantress, and I thought that effect was pretty cool where the hand kind of came up to hold her hand, and then she turned into... I love that.
Yeah, I thought that effect awesome. was really sweet. And so she sends her on a sample run, and says, hey, go get this thing from inside the vault of, some foreign country or whatever, and they bring it back, and so that sells them. They're like, okay, put it together. These guys can do amazing things. At no point... Continuing to have continuing to have the conversation that these are psychotic and awful people who are going to look for every... I mean...
She proves that they would be useful if you could control them, but she certainly doesn't prove that you can control them. When the girl who turns into Enchantress, after the guy gets the file they've been looking for years, says, "I'm never doing that again," he should be like, "How can I be sure that you'll be able to control these people?" She won't even say the word Enchantress again!
Yeah, and not only that, but you have her heart. What do you have that you're going to control these other people with? Now, of course, the movie's answer to that is that they can kill them, that they put something in their neck that they can kill.
Which is the basic concept of Suicide Squad in the comics.
So they do have that in the comics as well.
Yeah. The bomb in the brain.
Yeah. So they set up the mission, and then here's the other thing, the first place where the plot really went awry for me, which is the Enchantress apparently has a brother. Right. And so she just has this brother's vial with her. And so the Enchantress can just go and get it at any point, even though she has her heart. Like the way that she controls this witch with the heart was really confusing to me, because at times she could and at times she couldn't. And once her brother is loose, all of a sudden the brother's energy makes it so that she doesn't have to be controlled. I didn't understand that controlling her with the heart thing at all. It seemed like
it gets so contrived you don't even want to think about it.
Right?
Anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like it breaks your brain after a while. Yeah. No, that's definitely problematic. As problematic as that for me was just the simple convenience of she happens to do this just as Waller is assembling the team.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
like, she could have done it a week ago. She could have done it a month. Like, it didn't have anything to do with the fact that the government has now signed off on the team.
Yeah, it just kind of happens.
There should have been a correlation there.
So, and here's the other part about this, and maybe you can help me out with this, but I think this goes for the rest of the movie and is the reason I felt really disconnected from the story and felt like it was very thin. I have no clue what her and her brother are trying to do. What is their goal? Like, where are they? They say something about building a machine because people worship machines now, Is that it?
That's
They're just going to build some big supercomputer so everybody will worship them or something?
No, well, she says to rule the world with, so I guess it's not enough to be, to have, like, vaguely, inexhaustible power, because we honestly don't even know exactly what she's capable of.
No.
Like, they never make it very clear, like, toward the end, when she tells Harley Quinn she can bring back the Joker, who is not dead, but she doesn't know that, I don't know if she can actually do that or not.
And the other thing is her brother apparently just, swallows people and becomes, some sort of big mummy mech. And it's like, he seems unstoppable and,
Well, that design was cool. That was wonderfully not generic.
Oh, absolutely.
I've never seen that monster
and we said
before. That was great.
I love it. And we said that during the podcast proper, too. I actually really love the visual aesthetics of this world. I like the effects. I like what they're doing here.
It's really pretty. Yeah.
But so he seems unstoppable, and then at the end they just put a bomb underneath him, and that does it. Did I miss something? Like, he just needed to be blown up? Because it appears like, I don't know. It's just so weird to me.
And what's weird is when you have these siblings where one seems to be way more powerful than the other one, and you get rid of the more powerful one, and then you're like, we've got the sister left. Here's the real threat. That's really silly.
Yeah. So the whole thing about their plot line just made no sense to me. I didn't understand what I was rooting for or against. I didn't know why I cared.
And it's not like that was a thematic tie to the rest of the movie or anything. It's not like the idea of gods versus machines and all of that was worked into the thread of the main narrative at all.
No.
That wasn't the crux.
I guess if we're
and I don't want to say the movie's not about anything. It's disjointed, but it certainly is a bad people finding their humanity again story.
Yes.
Some of that works okay.
That theme is the only one I could find to hold on to there. It's primarily in the character of Deadshot, and his was the story of the stories in the backstory in the themes that worked for me. His was the only one that really got me a little bit, because you could see the struggle in his life of, doing bad things versus wanting to please his daughter. And I did enjoy some of that, but thematically it's just so all over the place that I just didn't know, I just didn't have a lot to hold on to.
Let me ask you a question, because, and see if you had this too, because obviously the other character, and I think just because she's popular, that it tries to play a sort of a character arc for and make you really root for, is Harley Quinn. And I really liked her performance, and I even like some things about the sort of character arc. But the question I have for you is, do you feel like you're never really sure where you are with her because, of course, she's a psychotic person? So when you get to the end, and I just feel like you can, like any criticism I might have about her thread, her arc, you could easily just say, oh, well, she's a crazy person, and then I go, okay, well, then why do I care? Like, none of it matters then. Like when you get to that third act, and which, like I said earlier, is the most sappy thing I've seen in a while in a movie that is not that kind of movie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're toward the end, and she chooses to save her new friends now over the Joker, who is her entire life, and who I think the movie has defined her too much by.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy that's the choice she would make, and I didn't know if it meant anything.
Yeah, and I don't know that the movie ever gave us a good reason why any of those guys would fight against the witch. It was obvious that by that point that they didn't have to. They were no longer controlled.
Yeah, you know what I didn't get? The people that get up and leave the bar and that's what they would do, right? Where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the bomb's not on our heads anymore, and Rick Flag isn't going to control us, so they just get up and leave.
Yeah, boomerang.
And then immediately after that, they're all walking in a line together to go fight the monster.
Yeah, and there's no motivation for it. There's no, why did Boomerang come back? What?
I don't know. He wouldn't do that. That's not in his character.
Yeah, and
from what was established.
The only one I could again kind of see a little bit of motivation for is Deadshot. Because he really does want to do something good.
And Harley Quinn's was okay because at least she didn't get up and leave and then do that. Like hers was just, we don't have anything better to do, and this looks like fun. No, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, you go back to the fact that she's completely psychotic, and so nothing really has any foundation of meaning to it. It's just, it's just randomly what seems fun to the voices in her head, you know?
And that's the thing, is that is that character in various incarnations, so I'm fine with that. The problem is when they have these moments of lucidity and I don't know what to take from them.
Yeah. And are they actually lucidity? Or are they just masquerading as lucidity?
Exactly, yeah. Also with her, I got this sense that Deadshot, because they kind of treat her as Deadshot's lieutenant.
Yeah.
And the rest of the team, she becomes kind of the heart of the team in a weird way. And I feel like that happens because she's popular in real life. And that's kind of the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's a marketing reason, not necessarily a story reason.
Yeah, not necessarily a character reason. I can sort of see Deadshot coming to appreciate her to some degree, but they go way too far with it, where it just seems like the reason he has difficulty deciding if he wants to shoot her or not for his freedom and to go see his daughter is just because she's cute and spunky. That's about it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Remind me again, is it Slipknot?
Yeah.
Okay, so we get the team together, and they've been told they're going to get their heads blown off if they do anything wrong. Slipknot decides, based on a conversation with Boomerang, to test this theory and gets his head blown off.
That's wow! It cracks me up. I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, has there ever been a more disposable character presented to you in a movie than Slipknot was? And I mean, literally no word of him until he shows up to be with the team, and literally.
And in a movie where we spend half an hour setting up people and giving statistics about them. Not only is he the most disposable character I've seen in a lot, maybe ever, but he's also the most telegraphed thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, you might as well have put a red shirt on him. I mean, it was...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The only thing that would make it more obvious is if he was wearing a Starfleet red shirt. Oh my god, it's hilarious.
And
who is in the theater not going, he's going to die?
Right, because we know nothing about him.
And with this many characters, we should have killed off 2 or 3 more of them, I think.
Yeah, it was just... And what does that... I mean, the only thing story-wise...
We're not scared for anybody's lives because we introduced a person for him to die.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. There's no stakes, there's no...
It's hilarious.
Yeah, so that was ridiculous.
It's so funny. Like, you could have easily killed Killer Croc in this. Like, okay, so he's a Batman villain, but they're probably never going to use him in a Batman movie. Like, he could have died. Boomerang could have died. Like, there's another... And I guess El Diablo bites the dust at the end, but not in that way. Does he die?
They didn't make it obvious. I mean, I think we're left. I think we're left to believe that he died. If that makes sense.
They show you where everybody else is in the prison, so at the very least, they don't bring him back with them.
Listen, if that bomb can kill the omnipotent brother god and doesn't kill Diablo, then there's some serious issues.
Well, and that's a character I don't know anything about. So was he conveniently also one of the gods?
Who, Diablo?
Yeah, because he gets the big crazy head thing like the other god guy that he's fighting.
I just assumed that his power took over. I mean, it was ridiculous, but
was he speaking Spanish or was he speaking the language the god spoke?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought he was speaking the language the god spoke.
Oh. Interesting. I have no idea.
But I don't know. I was really confused about all of that.
Ugh.
And not invested enough to care.
Right. Because they're doing what? Building a computer? Like, what are they... Can you help me understand what, like, all that floating stuff was doing? Do they ever even address what they're creating in that moment?
No, Aaron, I cannot.
Okay. I didn't know if I missed, like, a scene or something. Like, I fell asleep during an important explanation of...
Oh, the movie falls asleep and forgets some scenes. Certainly. There is, as far as we can piece together from trailers, which I don't love doing, but I've talked to some folks that have watched them closer than I have, there is apparently a scene that shows you that the Joker survived that crash.
Oh, yeah? Huh.
Yeah, because in the trailer, there's a bit where he's got, like, half his face burned off. And he seems to be in that helicopter crash.
Wow. I don't know. That's just there's a lot of messy parts.
But I gotta tell you, I love the absurdity of all of that. I'm so jazzed by the fact that they were okay with going as goofy at the end as having the Joker walk in with a SWAT team suit with his own name on his jacket. And that he has JKR written on his shoulder. I love that. They made that just so there would be an action figure, and I love that.
That's true. Was there anything else specifically in the movie that you wanted to chat about? You know, certain lines or moments that we haven't touched on?
There's so much stuff we could talk about. The Joker Harley background stuff, like I said earlier, feels real. That's the stuff that feels most fan film to me.
Like the stuff where she takes dive into the vats and he decides to dive in after her, and they make out while I think at the same time they're melting.
It was a cool image, certainly. I just wish I had some kind of context for it. But the big one was well before that, where you have the flashback of Harley Quinn. You have the token shot of her in the traditional Harley Quinn outfit. And she's dancing with the Joker with a gun. That is a classic comic book cover, and they just shot it in real life and put it in the movie. And the problem with taking a cover like that and putting it in there with no context is that it's a black background because they're in a black abyss because that's what it is on the cover of that comic. Oh. And if you just make that a flashback, what you end up with is a couple of people that look like they're in a photo shoot for some reason.
I didn't notice that, but that is funny. I did not notice that.
So yeah, there's a little bit of stuff like that that's pretty funny.
So yeah, see, I wouldn't catch like a lot of that fan service stuff, you know.
And so much of that movie is fan service. The words, the statistics that pop up on the screen.
Oh yeah.
First of all, were unnecessary, and second of all, you had no time to read.
There was not a single one of them. I didn't get through a single one of those things, and I read pretty quick.
I was working hard to get through it, and I felt like that was an added thing. This is a thing I said last night in the review I did. I feel like that was an added thing where they were trying to appeal to Deadpool fans. I felt like there was some stuff they did to appeal to Deadpool fans, and some stuff they did to try to be Guardians of the Galaxy, especially with the popular music.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the words on the screen thing, I mean, I don't know that Deadpool actually did that, but it just felt like it gave me a vibe of that movie. And the thing is, there are some interesting little tidbits that they throw up on screen, mostly just for fans, and also at least one to set a thing up. I think I saw this, because it blinks so fast I've only seen the movie once. I think it says that Harley Quinn was thrown in Arkham. Is it actually Arkham? I'm not even sure. That she was thrown away because they thought she murdered Robin.
Really? I didn't see that, but
yeah, there's something about Robin, and I'm pretty sure it said she murdered Robin, or they thought she murdered Robin.
Wow.
And the Robin suit in the Batcave is a thing in BVS that we're given no context for, where you just have that writing from the Joker on Robin's suit about his having the last laugh or whatever it was, and that's in that. Those of us that know our comics assume that we're talking about Jason Todd, who's the second Robin who Joker kills in the comics, and it seems like they're adding more out of context things to that background that hopefully Ben Affleck will flesh out in his Batman movie.
Well, that seems like a crazy big spoiler to give away as a throwaway in a pre-movie, doesn't it?
It's not a spoiler though. It's something that happened in the past. You have to remember that this is and they don't make this clear enough in this movie. This is a universe where Batman has been operating for years and years and years.
Right.
And so he has this really long history with Joker. And so and what's weird is Jared Leto is in his 40s, but he looks like 25 in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's really problematic because you feel like you're looking at a younger gangbanger Joker that's just getting his start, but he's been around forever.
Yeah, that's interesting. It doesn't make
so that's
a lot
not a spoiler, Aaron. That's background that they're just not fully making clear.
Well, I just meant if you wanted to use the death of Robin as a plot, even a flashback plot point in a future movie, it could be a really powerful thing. But if you've already said, well, Harley Quinn kills Robin, then it's like you lose the chance to have that be a reveal. you know?
Yeah, and it's weird because we're being all cryptic about it in a universe where we've now had a movie with a whole bunch of flashbacks. So now we're just being really arbitrary about what we'll show and what we're setting up with artifacts and stuff.
How long do you think it's going to take them to really get their footing in their expanded universe? Like to where they're making movies and you feel like, okay, they've really got an idea of their own sense of tone and who they're going to be and what they're doing.
Ben Affleck's Batman movie.
You think that'll kind of be the turning point or the fulcrum?
That's what it'll take. Justice League might end up being way better than BVS, but Snyder's still directing is somewhat worrisome.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. We did get a Flash cameo in this.
Yeah. Yeah, but the reason I say that is because we have that, and then we have Wonder Woman, and then Ben Affleck's Batman movie will be, unless there's something else before that I'm not thinking of, but I think that's the next thing. His Batman movie will be the first thing that is completely fresh to the new way they're operating at Warner's for the DC Extended Universe, where they have finally, can you believe they didn't lead with this? They have finally given it its own separate offshoot company like Marvel Studios has.
Yeah.
And called DC Films, and they've put Jeff Johns in at the head of it, and Jeff Johns is the head of DC right now. Well, he was the head creative guy, and now I think he's actually like head something there now. But he's going to be the Kevin Feige for DC,
right?
And he's not gonna. He and Ben Affleck aren't gonna have enough control of stuff until we get there. Now, Wonder Woman might be great. I thought that trailer looked kind of generic.
Yeah, I have.
We don't. But again, you can't take anything from trailers, so who knows?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I heard lots of good buzz on it after Comic-Con, but I don't know. I loved Wonder Woman. She was one of the bright spots for me of BVS. So it'd be nice to see her get a good movie.
I mean, not that she got to do anything.
Right. Well, that's why it'll be nice to see if she actually gets to do something.
The lasso looks cool.
That's true. That's true. I was just looking through the cast list for Suicide Squad, and James McGowan was Panda Man. Panda Man.
There's a flashback where the Joker has a whole bunch of minions wearing weird masks. And that's got to be what that is.
So is that going to be is Panda Man like an actual character, or is that going to be part of the Joker's?
No, I don't think so. It just you had a bunch of, it's like cast lists for anything where it's like guy with pin in neck.
That's what I wondered. I wondered if it was a thing I didn't know about, or if that actually was just kind of a throwaway.
The creepiest one of those was the guy with the giant Batman mask.
Yeah.
I love.
How did you feel?
I was like, that's really creepy.
Let's talk about cameos in this. Batman has a couple cameos. Flash has a cameo. How did you feel about that, expanded universe stuff and how it was handled in this movie, especially as compared to how awful it was handled in Batman versus Superman? I felt. How did you feel about it here?
Well, I'm glad we're not making everybody Batman villains.
Okay.
That was kind of the worry going in, was that there was talk that Captain Boomerang was just going to be relegated to another Batman villain, and the fact that Flash is the person that brings him in is great because he's part of the Flash Rogues. So I'm glad. So I'm glad about that. I don't think the cameos were too intrusive. People are calling the Batman stuff obligatory. I guess it kind of is. But I thought the mid-credit scene was good and necessary.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the mid-credit scene. Remind me what happens there.
That is Amanda Waller sitting down with Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne has figured out about Task Force X, and he walks in and basically says, shut it down, I'm putting my own team together.
Right.
And we'll take care of it for you. And I really like the idea, like I said earlier, I really like the idea of the Suicide Squad as the messed up proto-Justice League.
Yeah. No, I
think that's a really cool idea. And I still say, if somehow or rather we could have led with that, it would have been a really cool idea, because, or mostly led with that. Maybe have this world's Iron Man, whatever that character would be, and then do Suicide Squad. Because the idea is you've got this really cynical world that's as sad and depraved and messed up is the one that we live in, and people don't have hope, and that's kind of the general feeling right now when you look at politics and all kinds of stuff. And so if you move forward from that with we tried to solve it with an ends justifies the means mentality, and then we reversed that and you get Justice League, and so we find the hope after we've addressed modern cynicism, I like that a lot, and that's not what Marvel did.
Yeah, and that's the thing, really.
And so that's kind of what they're doing, and moving forward, that could totally work.
And it could be their own thing, and I think that's part of the thing. Actually, I think a lot of the thing that we're seeing with DC stumbling out of the gate here has to do with them trying to catch up to Marvel. And I feel like if they had just decided it's okay, it can be 5-6 years from now when we finally get into a rhythm, let's really figure out a plan and do some cool things that are our own. I think you could have seen, a different growth element to these characters and what they're doing. But I just feel like they felt like they had to catch up. And so they're really trying to get there quickly. And I really think it's affecting these films.
Part of the reason they felt like they had to catch up was because they screwed up Green Lantern.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
because
true.
Green Lantern was supposed to be the first of their expanded universe.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And when it tanked, they started over. And remember, Amanda Waller is in that. I feel bad for the actress who played her there.
Oh, I had forgotten that. Wow.
And I love this actress, and I think she's technically better, but also she gets more things to do. I love Amanda Waller walking in or being in that office and just mowing down everybody.
That's who she. That shocked me. And I'm just...
that's why I like it. It should. I mean, that's who that is. Indicative of the movie that they actually made as opposed to the one we saw.
Yeah.
And I was kind of impressed they left it in.
So, because
it's too dark for the movie we had. What he made, I'm pretty convinced. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I'm convinced he made a more psychologically complex psychological thriller.
Do you think we'll see it? Do you think we'll get another release?
I don't think Warner's is above that, because obviously of what they did with the rated R extended cut of BVS. But see, I'm of two minds about it because I really want to see that cut. But at the same time, I don't want Warner's to keep putting out movies and playing them like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
And then true. saying, and then saying, no, this is the real version.
Yeah. Yeah,
because that's what they did with BVS.
Yeah. Did you ever see End of Watch?
No, I haven't watched that.
Okay, End of Watch is the same director, David Ayers, and it's so good. Like, it's one of those movies you go into and you're like, it just seems like another movie, and you come out going, wow, that's masterfully done. And so I know he can do that kind of stuff, but you can just feel the fingerprints all over it and trying to, all the chefs in the kitchen, trying to put the recipe together. And
and they keep, like I said earlier, knee-jerk reaction. Like, they just keep reacting to stuff, and they're looking at the disparate elements as opposed to the whole. And the problem is, like, I'm sympathetic to them to a degree, but they just made a huge mistake strategically, which is they made a movie that, like Batman vs. Superman, had to make a stupid amount of money in order to even make its money back.
Yeah.
Especially because of how much money they threw in the marketing. With BVS, it was the magic total was $1 billion. It had to break $1 billion to even merit existing.
Wow.
And it only did like $850 or something, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is, except they spent too much money on it, and it made most of that in its opening weekend and had the biggest drop-off in history. And then you get to, or one of them, and then you get to Suicide Squad. You know what the magic number was there? I read this yesterday. $750.
Ah.
Imagine if, because this is an obscure property for the masses, right? Imagine if Guardians of the Galaxy needed $750 million to break even.
Wow.
That doesn't make sense. And so what they did was they saw the reaction to Batman vs. Superman, and they got scared. And they allegedly went in and started changing stuff and had a new vision for what it could be for a more to be accessible to a bigger audience.
Yeah.
And that's death, man. What you have to do with a thing like that is, if it's really effective at what it's doing, you use it to convert people as opposed to selling to people that already want it. That's what you do, right? Like, you can make a thing accessible by people going in and watching it and not thinking it's a thing they would like, but then it just speaks to people because it's just a really good story.
Yeah,
like, you know what? I don't usually like movies like this, but this one's really good. And it's like, you can convert people.
Exactly. I can go. There have been, 2 or 3 horror movies over the last few years that I come out of and I go, that's a really great story. That's a good movie. I usually hate horror movies, but I can accept, one here or there and go, okay, you told a great story. And I think the same thing is true with, these movies as well. Start with the story. Start with telling us a great story and go from there.
There's a line in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Geordi LaForge is talking to Data, who has done a poetry reading, and is asking LaForge if the poems were emotionally resonating, if he had an emotional response. And LaForge says that they didn't because he's too worried about style. And he says you should think more about what you want to say as opposed to how you want to say it. And I think that's exactly what DC needs to be thinking right now.
That is a perfect place to finish the spoiler cast up. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate your time, and always good to talk these movies with you. I love, having somebody who is at the other end of the spectrum as me as far as knowing the source material, because it really allows for, kind of some in-depth stuff that, I wouldn't have access to. So I really appreciate that.
It's refreshing to talk to somebody that doesn't, because we can just look at the meat of the thing.
Yeah. I think it's a good conversation. So appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.